Amen. So week 19 of Ask the Pastor, and today is part 2 of the question, what will we do in heaven? And again, as I mentioned last week, in my notes, I'm calling this, what on earth will we do in heaven? Just because I like corny jokes. So I started talking about this last week, was hoping I'd finish, but didn't get done, so I'm going to finish part 2 today. Or if not, I won't tell you, and part 3 will be longer. So before I get into what will we do in heaven, I want to hear your guys' thoughts a little bit. What are some typical views of heaven, some typical descriptions, images of heaven that you think about, or that are in American, let's say American pop culture in particular? Western.
Playing harps.
What's that?
Angels playing harps.
Angels playing harps, yeah. Why not electric guitars? That's what I want to know. Yeah. Pearly white gates, yeah.
Was it St. Peter?
St. Peter, obviously St. Peter's got to be there, yep. Anything else? Clouds, nobody said clouds? Yeah, floating on clouds. Golden streets, yep. Mansions, all right.
But the streets have no name.
They're golden. They're not named those. Sorry, it's really hard to get directions. If the streets are unnamed.
Yeah, but if I'm in heaven, I already know.
Then you already know. You know before even as you are known. So nobody's asking for directions. So that's great. Yeah, it's easy then. You probably none of you are probably surprised for me to say the next thing that I'm going to say. Most of those, there's very little truth to most of those statements. It's funny because I was looking at a number of comic strips, like The Far Side and things like that, with scenes of heaven. They're always the same. It's always the clouds, the pearly white gates, the angels with harps, there's St. Peter. It's always the same. It's like, where did this... you could find bits of these references in the Bible. They don't mean that. They're metaphors. They're symbols of other things. And you don't see anything about... I don't know where I guess there's some harps in Revelation, so maybe that's where the angels playing harps comes from. There's no indication that we'll all live on clouds and fly around, become angels and fly around playing harps and for the rest of eternity. Sorry if that's what you were really banking on. You're like, yes, I want to live on I think living on a cloud does seem kind of fun, but for all of eternity, I think they get a little boring and a little damp too. Clouds are damp, so... all right, quick review before diving into new stuff. So when they talk about what's heaven going to be like, there's kind of two things that they mean. They think, so one is heaven, where God and the angels and departed believers are now, and the other thing is the new heavens and the new earth, where you will live for all of eternity, where believers live for all of eternity. They're two different things. They're not the same. If you were to die today as a believer, you would go boom, direct into the presence of God. You're in heaven, worshiping with the angels, worshiping around the throne. That's right now. That's what's going on in heaven right now. Is believers who've departed are in the presence of God in heaven, worshiping Him. But that's not where you're going to stay forever. At one point, the Bible says on the great day, the last day, that Jesus will return. The old dead saints will rise up. The resurrection will occur. There'll be the resurrection of the living and the dead, the final judgment, and then God will destroy the entire... He'll roll up the heavens and the earth and destroy it, remake it, rebuild it, renew it, redeem the earth, and then we will live on the new earth for all of eternity. It's going to be different than heaven. It'll be, in some ways, the Bible gives a picture of it as a merger. It's like heaven coming to earth, heaven and earth together, where now it's very separate. But the new earth that we'll live on will be something of a merger of heaven on earth. That is very different from what's going on, what heaven is right now. And what we will do on the new earth, new heavens and new earth, there'll be some similarities with what's going on in heaven right now, but it will be different also. So we're talking last week and this week, I'm talking about what's going on in heaven right now. So I finished up last week by going through a few things that we won't do in heaven. Let me just rifle through those. We won't sin or be tempted to sin, which is amazing to think about. Just the freedom of not having any temptation, any sin. Nobody, you can't find it even if you try to look for it. Nothing. It's just amazing to think about. We won't forget the power of sin, but we'll remember, I think we'll remember it because if we know the power of sin, then we know the power of God's mercy, and we know his goodness, we know his justice, we know his love. So I don't think we'll forget sin. I think we'll constantly remember it. Not constantly. I think we'll remember it forever. We won't become angels or new, different people. We'll be us. You will be the same you for all of eternity, just a different you, a renewed you. We won't lose our individuality and meld with the universe or meld with one another. I think there will be a real sense of fellowship with each other and with God and with creation, with no sin as a barrier. The connections will be stronger, I think, because sin divides, sin destroys wherever it is. So without that, and then directly in the presence of God, there's going to be a feeling of fellowship and commonality that we don't have now, but we're not going to just like melt into the great soul and the life force of the universe or something. You will still be you, an individual. We won't suffer from our physical bodies anyway. There's not going to be sickness. You're not going to be tired, sore, achy, broken, dysfunctional. Everything's going to work the way it's supposed to work. And I brought up last week there's a question of, will we have some sort of body in heaven, or will we just be disembodied spirits? And there's debates on that question. We don't know exactly. The Bible does seem to give some sort of indication that maybe sort of we'll have something. It won't be a physical body as we know it. Heaven's a different spiritual realm, but maybe there's some sort of tangibleness to it that we don't understand right now with the physical world that we're in. We won't be sad. We won't miss our old lives on earth at all. Like if there's something where you're like, man, I really love to do this. I love playing video games, and if I can't have video games in heaven, it's gonna be awful. Like Jack told me this week that his three favorite things are candy, tablets, and phones. So video games are 2 out of 3. So, if there's something you're like, oh man, I really would miss that, or oh man, I don't want to die before I see my grandkids and great-grandkids and all that, you're not going to miss that. When you're in heaven, you're not going to be disappointed. You're not going to be like, shoot, I wish I wouldn't have died so young at 75. I wish I would have made it to 100. That would have been a lot cooler to have 100 candles on my cake. You're not going to care. You're not going to miss this old life at all. All right, let's move on to some new stuff. What the slain martyrs teach us. This is from Randy Alcorn's book, Heaven, that I brought in last week and showed you guys. It's massive, and it's all about heaven. Surprise, that's why I call it Heaven. So he takes these verses here, Revelation 6, 9 through 11. John sees a scene of heaven, and this is a visionary experience. So, there's question, I don't know how much is meant to be taken literally and how much is symbolic, and I don't know if it is literal about these particular people. We don't know if it's about everybody in heaven or just these particular people at this particular time. But if this is meant to be a picture of things really going on in heaven at the time that John was taken up and saw scenes of heaven, there's a lot of things that you can extrapolate from it. So Revelation 6, 9 through 11. When he opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain for the word of God and for the witness they had borne. They cried out with a loud voice, O sovereign Lord, holy and true, how long before you will judge and avenge our blood on those who dwell on the earth? Then they were each given a white robe and told to rest a little longer until the number of their fellow servants and their brothers should be complete, who were to be killed as they themselves had been. So, if this is meant to be taken literally, not just a symbolic experience that John had, and if the experience of these slain martyrs is common in heaven. There's a lot of things that we can learn from these verses here. First, when we die on earth, we relocate to heaven. There's no in-between there. They're not partly on earth, partly in heaven. Those who were on earth are now dead, and now they're in heaven. We're the same people. These martyrs, they know that they were the martyrs that were slain. They're the same people that were on earth. They didn't become a new person with a new personality, a new identity. They're the same person that they were, just different. We're remembered for our lives on the earth. So the souls of the slain martyrs that are here, they're understood to be, there's the connection between who they are in heaven right now and what happened to them on the earth. They're remembered for what happened to them on the earth, which is kind of really cool to think about, that you, when you're in heaven, you're not just going to be like, you're going to be remembered for how you lived your life on the earth. And we don't know if everyone you meet will instantly know everything about you, like when at the Transfiguration, when Moses and Elijah were there, and instantly the disciples were like, oh, it's Moses and Elijah. How did they know? They never met them, and it wouldn't make sense for them to know, but somehow they just knew. So I don't know, maybe if heaven will be like that everyone that you meet will go, oh yeah, I know everything about you now. I know who you are. That's awesome. You did that. Or if you'll have to get to know people and learn about them. But friends of yours on earth that know you now, when you're in heaven together, they'll remember you. They'll remember what you did. It's not like suddenly that's all gone and everything's a blank slate and you're some deprogrammed android from Star Wars now. You're still the same person and remembered for what you did. We can express ourselves audibly, which is maybe kind of a duh thing. Like, well, of course we can talk audibly in heaven, but it's a question, because I don't know what would heaven be like. Are we going to just express ourselves telepathically? We'll just know. We won't have to talk. Well, apparently here the slain martyrs are able to express themselves through their words, and so we would think the same for us probably. We will be rational, emotional, and communicative. There will be unity between us. They cry out with one united voice for justice. So there'll be there's a sense that there's an indication that there'll be a semblance of unity amongst us in heaven. We'll be conscious, rational, and aware of each other and God, not just in some ethereal realm floating around. We will be aware of things and each other. We can ask God to intervene on earth and act on our behalf. It's interesting that you see these slain martyrs asking God for justice and able to communicate with God. We have an audience with God and can ask him questions. It's just pretty cool that you're in the presence of God, and there's a lot of people in heaven, and yet you see these slain martyrs have an audience with God, and he's listening to them. So you would think probably the same for us, that you don't have to take a number and then wait in line for 400 million people to get done first, and then you can ask him, you got 15 seconds to ask him what you want to ask him, and then, all right, repeat, get back in line for the next day. Well, next however long it takes. But you have an audience with God. We will be aware of what's happening on earth. And so this is something that, I don't know, you see it here in this scenario, that the slain martyrs, they know that justice hasn't happened yet. They see what's happening on earth. So there's an awareness of, even though they're in heaven and they're experiencing all of heaven's blessings, they're still aware of what's going on the earth. You see something similar in the parable that Jesus told about the rich man and Lazarus. And they see what's going on earth. They seem aware of what's going on earth, plus they are aware of what's going on in each other's realms between heaven and hell. But that's a parable. Jesus is not necessarily trying to lay down doctrine with that. And again, here, this is a visionary experience, so it may or may not be meant to be taken literally. But if it is, there's an awareness of those in heaven are aware of what's going on the earth. We'll desire justice. See, you can see that they're crying out for justice on the earth. We'll remember our lives. which is kind of wild to think about. They were murdered. And some of them may have been murdered in very traumatic ways. And they're not freaked out about it. They know what happened. They're like, yeah, we were murdered. They're not, they're not experiencing PTSD. They know what happened. They haven't forgotten. They know, but it's also not affecting them. It doesn't hurt them other than that they want justice. There is solidarity between saints in heaven and saints on earth. You see a connection in this little snapshot here. You see a connection, a commonality between the saints in heaven and the saints on earth, common fellowship together. We'll be distinct individuals. Again, each one of the slain martyrs recognizes that they were slain. They know what happened in their life. They're unique individuals. They don't just join with some cosmic whole and cry out for justice in general. They remember what happened to them. They're still individual people, individual souls. We may have some type of body. So he put this in there because he said that they were clothed with robes, and bodies would not need to be clothed. Maybe it was a vision, and the robes are just symbolic, and they're not actually wearing robes. Maybe they are just disembodied spirits, souls, or maybe they have some sort of spiritual body type thing, but possibly a body. We won't know everything instantly in heaven, but we will learn and develop understanding. So they ask, "How long, God?" They don't instantly know. Oh, okay, he's got 14 years left. They got to ask him. So you could think probably the same for us, that when we get to heaven, we won't instantly know everything. It does say we will know even as we are fully known. But what does that mean? Does that mean we'll know God as we're fully known? We'll know each other as we're fully known? We'll know everything as we are fully known? Well, the snapshot of the slain martyrs here is that they don't know everything instantly, that they have to ask questions and learn and grow. We will live in anticipation for the return of Jesus in the new heavens and the new earth. This is kind of cool. So even if this is just symbolic, there is a sense that these slain martyrs, even though they're in heaven, that they know something better is coming. We're not done yet. And they're living in the anticipation for when Jesus will return to the earth and rebuild the earth, renew the earth. And so even if this is symbolic, I think that is still, you can still grab that from the symbol. That even when we're in heaven, yeah, it's going to be awesome. And we're going to feel joy and pleasure beyond anything we could ever experience on the earth, anything we could even understand right now. But I think there will still be a sense that, okay, God's not done yet. Because we will be waiting for all of creation to be remade new. What else we got here? Oh, we'll be aware of the passing of time. So, they ask, how long, Lord? And this was something that I had never thought about before. And maybe this is symbolic, and maybe this is reading too much into the scene here. But these dead saints, these slain saints, martyrs, are definitely aware of the passage of time, or they wouldn't ask God how long. There would be if there was no conception of time. My perception of heaven was that because God is bigger than time, and if we're in the presence of God, if heaven is in the presence of God, then heaven would be outside of time, and time wouldn't really matter to us at all, and we wouldn't even be aware of it. And if we know how long eternity is, I don't know how can you have time if time is infinite and it doesn't really matter then? So I always kind of assumed that we would be outside of time, but if this is meant to be taken literally, yeah, maybe we're aware of the passage of time.
As it is now, you're talking about.
What do you mean? As it is now, yes. Yeah, as heaven is now. When referring to heaven, the state, where the place where the part of believers go.
After the new heaven and new earth or whatever.
Yeah. So just referring specifically to heaven right now. I always assumed the new heavens, new earth, that we would have some sort of time, but maybe it'll be different. Maybe the earth will speed up or slower, or I don't know. Maybe it'll be the same. I don't know. But whether my assumptions are correct or not. So I had assumed that heaven as it is right now would be outside of time, but I'm seeing that maybe it's not. Maybe it's within time, and we're aware of the passing of time. And finally, he extrapolates from this that we will have a strong family connection with each other and with the saints on earth. They call each other brothers. It says, until the number of their fellow, well, I guess this is John just writing it, that they were each given a white robe, told to rest a little longer until the number of their fellow servants and their brothers should be complete. So which hints at a strong family connection between the believers that will remain even after death in heaven. So whether, again, John had a visionary experience, and is this meant to be taken literally? Are they symbols and metaphors for stuff? I don't know exactly. But if it is meant to be taken literally, there's a lot that you can extrapolate from that as to what we'll be doing in heaven and what life will look like. All right, let's talk about some more. So for Isaac Asimov, a science fiction writer, he once said, I don't believe in an afterlife, so I don't have to spend my whole life fearing hell or fearing heaven even more. For whatever the tortures of hell, I think the boredom of heaven would be even worse. Isaac Asimov is wrong. So, if your perception of heaven is that you're going to be sitting on clouds playing harps for eternity, yeah, that sounds pretty boring. But the reality is, heaven's not going to be like that. And whatever heaven will be like, and whatever we're going to be doing in heaven, it's not going to be boring. Psalm 16:11 says, you make known to me the path of life. In your presence there's fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. In God's presence, in heaven right now, is fullness of joy, pleasures forevermore. I don't know how you could be bored with that. If you're bored, your pleasures forevermore just stopped, because boredom is not fun. Boredom is not pleasurable. 1 Chronicles 16:27, splendor and majesty are before him. Strength and joy are in his place. Psalm 45:7 about Jesus says, God, your God, has anointed you with the oil of gladness beyond your companions. So whatever we do in heaven, whatever the condition of heaven, whatever's going on right now, whatever we'll take part of when we get there, we know it will not be boring. There's going to be joy. There's going to be pleasure. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. Now, our desires when we're there may be very different than our desires are now. Like so many of our desires that we have right now, the things that we find pleasurable and the things that we want, even godly things, so many of those are tied to our physical body and our physical existence, our life as we know it. You want health. You want sleep. You want rest. You want your back to stop hurting you. You want your arthritis to go away. You want a nice house that's not falling apart all the time. You want a decent car that can get you where you need to go and doesn't need constant maintenance. Those things won't matter when we're in heaven. Your body is not going to matter. Your current body is not going to matter. Your house is not going to matter. Your car is not going to matter. Your bank account won't matter. Your job won't matter. The family and friends that you have right now, it's going to be different in heaven. So many of the ways that we find pleasure and joy in life right now, they're tied to our physical existence. So yes, we will have pleasure forevermore in heaven. Yes, we know we're not going to be bored. Yes, it's going to be amazing. But our desires when we're in heaven might be completely different than our desires are right now. Like in heaven, I don't think we're going to be excited to eat brownies. I like brownies right now. I like chocolate chip cookies right now. I don't think when we're in heaven that we're going to be like, what I would do for a brownie. Man, God, let me go back to earth just for 15 minutes. I got to make a plate of brownies. And I think if God were to tell us real concretely, look, this is what you're going to do in heaven, I think a lot of us would be like, I don't know if I want that. I take your word for it that I'm going to like it. But right now, that doesn't seem like pleasure forevermore to me. Because I think we're going to be different when we're in heaven. We're not going to have these bodies. We're not going to have these lives. Things are going to be different. But we're not going to be bored. It's going to be fun. And we're going to have pleasure forevermore. So what will we do? I think it's 5 or 6 things that... So like I started out saying last week, a lot of this is very mysterious, and it's hard to find real specific things of, we're going to do this in heaven. If you were to die today, and you're in the presence of God, and you're worshiping with the angels, what is going to happen? What are you going to do there? It's hard to find real concrete stuff about that because there's a lot of symbolism, a lot of metaphors. There's stuff that's about heaven now. There's stuff about the new heavens and new earth, and but there's a lot less about what exactly are you going to do when you die and stand in God's presence in heaven right now. But I found 6 things that I think we can nail it down that I'm pretty confident we're going to do this. Number 1, we will see God. Matthew chapter 5, verse 8, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. I think this is our chief joy. The greatest pleasure that we're going to have when we get to heaven is just to see God. And like if that bores you, if that seems not that exciting, just I don't know. I can look at pictures of Jesus on my wall, and I can go on Google and I can see pictures of anything I want. Why would that be cool to see God? So if that doesn't excite you, either you're not really born again and you got to get born again, or you don't understand how mind-blowing God is. Like I don't think when we go to heaven and see him, I don't think he's going to just be like some old bearded grandpa on a throne and we go, oh, cool, I like your scepter there, God. I think he's going to blow our minds. I think it's going to be beyond anything that we can possibly even imagine. And when we see him, we're going to, we're going to need 15,000 years to lay down and recover from the shock. I get it why heaven's for eternity, because I need to get over just looking at your face. It's the glory, the majesty. We have no idea, but we're going to see him. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. I think that's the chief joy that we'll have in heaven, is finally seeing him face to face. No barrier, nothing in between us. When I'm on a mission trip or gone to a conference or something, there's always a lot of reasons I like to get back home. Not waking up at 3 a.m. from the roosters is nice. Having my bed to sleep in is nice. Good normal food is nice. But the main thing that I can't wait to see is my family. It's like, you know what? If you could still keep feeding me rice and beans and put a rooster in my room at 3 a.m. and make it way too hot and too many mosquitoes, but if my family's there, yeah, I'm still coming home. It's like that's the thing that should be our chief joy when we get to heaven, is not, oh man, I can't wait to see the rainbows from the throne and all those creatures. That's what I really want to see. If you're really excited about the creatures, how about the one who made the creatures? That should be our chief joy, is getting home where our maker is, where our creator is, where Jesus is, seeing him face to face. I think that's the main thing that is going to blow our minds in heaven, seeing God. And so, you're like, well, that's not, you might say, well, that's not really something we're doing. Well, I think you can actively look at God. I think you could actively look at him year after year after year with no barrier. I think we're going to just stare at him and be like, oh, I don't know, maybe we'll get annoyed. Stop looking at me, guys. I think we'll just look at him just with our minds blown. Did you just see that? What color is that? Oh my gosh. What's going on right now? Whoa, it's brighter than I ever imagined. And then, oh, it's brighter still. I don't know. It's just going to blow our minds being able to see God. All right, number 2, we will worship God. This is another one of the main things that I think we'll be doing in heaven, is just the constant worship of God. And I think it goes with seeing him. That when you see him, you can't help but worship him. I love it various times in the Bible when God reveals himself to people, or he sends angels, and then the angels and people just fall down. God shows up, people worship him. Jesus would do things, blow his disciples' minds, and I think when he multiplied the catch of fish, when he caused them to catch the massive amount of fish, and they just fall down okay, my Lord and my God. It's imagine that every second for all of eternity. Jesus just blowing your mind with amazing things. You're like, oh, I didn't think he could get any cooler. And then one thing after another after another. You're just going to fall down and worship him. It's going to be natural. It's not going to be all like, okay, let's drum it up. Let's try to get our worship going here. Come on, everybody. Let's get excited. It's just going to be the natural thing to do. You were created to worship God. And when you see him with nothing in the way, no sin, no distractions, no, you're not going to be trying to worship him and then you're like, your stomach starts growling. You're like, oh man, I'm getting really kind of hungry. You're not going to have that stomach. You're not going to have that body anymore. No distractions at all. No, me and Brian will talk about it all the time, different worship songs. We're like, oh, I love that song, but it's just wrong theologically. God's not going to have us sing theologically incorrect songs. Nothing's going to be out of tune. No sound problems. No, the lyrics are going to be up right on time, probably blasted into your brain so you won't even need to see them. No problems with the projector. It's not going to be too hot, too cold. No crying baby behind you, or maybe it's your crying baby. Just you worshiping God, nothing in between. It's going to be amazing. Revelation chapter 4. Verse 1, after this I looked, and behold, a door standing open in heaven. And the first voice which I had heard speaking to me like a trumpet said, come up here, and I will show you what must take place after this. At once I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne stood in heaven, with one seated on the throne. And he who sat there had the appearance of jasper and carnelian. And around the throne was a rainbow that had the appearance of an emerald. I like how he says the appearance of many times. And in the Greek, it means that. It's like it was the likeness of this. It's like John is saying, I saw it. It was kind of like this, but it wasn't that. But that'll work for a description. But it's not that. Around the throne were 24 thrones, and seated on the thrones were 24 elders, clothed in white garments with golden crowns on their heads. From the throne came flashes of lightning and rumblings and peals of thunder. 1-800-THUNDER. And before the throne were burning 7 torches of fire, which are the 7 spirits of God. And before the throne there was, as it were, a sea of glass like crystal. And around the throne there's the 4 living creatures who worship God day and night and shout out, holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. And when the living creatures worship God, the 24 elders, they all fall down and they shout out, worthy are you, our Lord and God, to receive glory and honor and power, for you created all things, and by your will they existed and were created. Revelation chapter 5, verses 11 through 14 talks about the voice of many angels, numbering myriads of myriads and thousands of thousands, all worshiping God together. Talks about every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth and in the sea and all that is in them, all worshiping God. Can you imagine the worship that we're going to experience when we're in heaven? Every creature, all the people that died in faith, that died in Jesus, they're all going to be up there from multiple different cultures. And not just all the people, all the creation, all the creatures, all the animals, all the elephants, the antelopes, the birds, the buffaloes, the stingrays, the blue whales, all of these animals and creatures and everything coming together to worship God in unison. You're not going to be able to just sit around and go, I don't know if I want to worship God. You're just going to get sucked in. You're going to see him in all his glory, see all the thousands upon thousands of every being worshiping him, and it's just going to be natural. You're going to worship him too. Revelation chapter 7, verse 9, a great multitude that no one could number from every nation, from all tribes and peoples and languages, standing before the throne and before the Lamb. And it also talks about all the angels, again, worship, falling down in worship before God. Just think about that. Every tongue, tribe, and nation, every people group, every nation that has ever existed throughout all of human history. Well, I hope, I guess maybe there's some group that nobody got saved. Nobody had faith in Jesus. But it says here from, a great multitude from every nation, from all tribes. So I would imagine, I'm taking that literally, that there will be at least one representative from every people group from all of human history up there worshiping God. That's going to be amazing. Like worshiping alongside some ancient Egyptians that were like, wait, you worship God too? Oh yeah, Jesus appeared to me in a dream. I gave my life to him. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I used to worship Ra, the sun god, but now I worship the Son of God. pygmies from Africa, Eskimos, Germans. Just everybody all together with whatever culture they were born with on the earth, whatever nationality, whatever language that they had on earth, but all given in worship to God. That's going to blow our minds. It's going to be amazing. I think one of the biggest things that we're going to do in heaven when we get there is we're going to see God, and then we're just going to fall down and worship him day after day after day, along with all of creation. Raise your hand if you can. Thank you. All right, now put your foot in the air.
Wait, you didn't say Simon.
You got me. All right, I'll get off the stage. So raise your hand if you can remember a time in worship where it was like God just peeled the curtain back, and you felt like, wow, God is here. Whether it was like a time of corporate worship or personal worship, you in your own quiet time. Yeah, raise your hand if you've had a time like that. It's amazing, isn't it? Now, that's going to be every moment of heaven, but multiplied by a bajillion. It's the scientific multiplication principle there. You won't have your flesh. You won't have your cares, your worries, none of that. It's like the curtain will be peeled back, and it's not going to be unpeeled. It's going to stay back. Nothing in between you and God. So, yeah, I think that's a big part of what we'll be doing is worshiping him, and not just with worship as we know it. So, okay, there's going to be all the different human cultures worshiping God as they're created and as they learned. You're going to have the different creatures, elephants and blue whales and whatever, the different animals, the heavenly creatures worshiping God. And then there's going to be worship that doesn't even exist on earth yet, angelic worship. That I don't know how angels worship, but we're going to see that. Then I'm guessing there's probably instruments that we've never heard about, where God's like, oh yeah, you like your guitars? Check it out. Pew! And I don't know what it's going to be. There's probably notes that don't exist on earth, or we'll hear notes that we can't hear now, that maybe only dogs can hear, and we'll hear music in different ways that we can't even do on earth. It's going to blow our minds. All right, number 3. So we'll see God, we'll worship God, and we will serve God. The word worship in Greek, it actually comes from a word for a person that you would hire to accomplish a technical task, like a craftsman or something. And in Hebrew, one of the main words for worship is also a word that is used for service. So the idea of worship and serving, they go hand in hand. Romans 12:1 says, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. What is spiritual worship? What is worship? To present our bodies to God in service as a living sacrifice. So in heaven, we're not going to have these bodies anymore. We may have some sort of spiritual body, or we may just be disembodied spirits. But we're not going to have these bodies, but still the principle of giving of ourselves as a sacrifice, as a living sacrifice to God, that won't change. It's not like we get to heaven and God's like, okay, cool, you don't have to serve me anymore. Do your own thing. No, we'll still serve him, and part of the service is we'll be worshiping him. But I think we'll serve in other ways. I don't know how exactly, but we're created to serve God. So he'll probably have something for us to do up there, to do in heaven somehow in service of him. I don't know what it'll be. The Bible, I couldn't find any indications of exactly how we will serve him, but we'll serve him somehow. And it's not going to be drudgery. Have you ever had a time of serving, laying your life down for someone, that working hard, where it was like, man, that was a real joy? Like, raise your hand if you've had that. Like, where you worked hard on something, but let me ask it a different way. Okay, on the opposite side, have you ever had a time of working hard on something that was miserable, and you're like, I can't wait till this is over? Yeah. Okay, have you had the opposite, where it was a real joy to lay your life down and serve?
Actually, yes.
Yeah. So heaven's going to be the second one, not the first one. Whatever service he has for us up there, you are going to be perfectly suited for that, and it's going to bring joy to you. Work work was not a result of the fall. God gave Adam and Eve work to tend the garden before sin entered the world. Drudgery, toil, that came in after sin. But work is meant to be a blessing for us. Work and serving is meant to be a blessing for the other person, but also to build us up. And so in heaven, without any effects of the fall, any effects of sin, we're going to serve God, but it's going to bring us joy as we serve him. And probably I would imagine, serve one another as well. I don't know, are we going to have like heavenly food service up there? Or do we need to eat? Do we not need to eat? I don't know how it works. But there's going to be something for us to do, some sort of serving. Number 4, we will never stop learning, especially about God. Romans chapter 11, verse 33. Oh, the depths of the riches and wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable are his judgments, and how inscrutable his ways. For who has known the mind of the Lord, or who has been his counselor? I think part of what we'll do in heaven is God will reveal himself to us in more and more ways, in deeper and deeper ways. We're going to learn more about him and his ways and his kingdom. Colossians 2:3 says that in Jesus are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. Ephesians 3:18 through 19, Paul talks about comprehending with all the saints what is the breadth and length and depth and height, and to know the love of Christ. If you tried to do that every minute of every day on this earth, hey Diane, you wouldn't have enough years to do it. It's going to take all of eternity to understand the full breadth of God's love. Do you want? You've got those tickets, I assume? Thank you.
You just have to call.
Thanks so much. So I think part of what we're going to be doing in heaven is learning about God. And you know, some of you, that may sound boring. You may be like, I hate school. And it's not going to be like that. Like, think about maybe when you were a kid and you just were like fascinated by bugs for a little while, and you knew everything about every bug there was. You loved to learn about bugs. Or maybe like my boys, Star Wars. You can like mention any Star Wars character and they're like, oh yeah, that was Clone Wars season 3, episode 12. They know the background and everything. So everyone loves learning something. Maybe you didn't like classroom instruction and you didn't like teachers, or you didn't like the structure of school or something, but you were created to learn. You're created to find joy in learning. Yesterday we were watching TV and Cosette, there was a commercial on about people being on their phones too much. And we've seen it probably a couple dozen times. And suddenly Cosette, she like perks up. She's like, oh, I get it now. It's like she'd seen it a few dozen times, but finally it was like it clicked. She understood what the commercial was about and everything, because it's a little cryptic message for a little girl, you know. But like that feeling of where you're working on something, you're trying to figure it out, and suddenly you're like, I understand, I get it. I remember when I was taking Russian, it was my second or third semester of it. Suddenly, Russian grammar made sense to me. Like until that point, I was like, okay, I'm memorizing things, I'm trying, I'm working on it. But suddenly, after 2 or 3 semesters, it was like my brain just went, got it, and I just understood Russian grammar. Now it's been many years later, and I don't understand Russian grammar. But like that feeling, you know, where you suddenly figure something out, you solve the problem, or something suddenly comes together. You're like, oh, I get it, why this situation happened. It's like, that's a good feeling, isn't it? Can you imagine that multiplied by 1,000 and like every minute of every day? Because God's just like, hey, here's another one. You're like, oh, I get it. Oh, that's awesome. You know, thing after thing after thing.
It's so appropriate to use a math analogy.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know why, but it is.
Multiply by.
Yeah, there's a lot of math going on today, yeah. Proverbs 25:2 says, it is the glory of God to conceal things, but the glory of kings is to search things out. Part of what we're going to spend our time on in heaven is getting our minds blown as we search things out and we discover more and deeper and cooler and more mind-blowing things about God day after day after day. Number 5, we will interact with other men and women of God. So Revelation 7 talked about people from every tongue, tribe, and nation. As we're worshiping God, I don't think we'll be barred from speaking to them. I think, obviously our main focus as we worship God will be God. But I think if you've got some crazy Native American guy bowing, decked out in feathers and stuff, and he's worshiping God, I think we'll be able to say, whoa, how did you get here? Tell me about your testimony. I bet you've got some cool things to say. We're going to just even meeting all these new people will be really fun, and interacting with them. How exactly will we interact with them? I don't know. The Bible doesn't exactly say. But I think there will be some interaction with all the different believers from all the different tongues, tribes, and nations. Also, all our departed friends and family, people that we know that were believers and they died in faith. We're going to see them, and it might take you a little while, maybe after a few hundred years of worshiping God, and you might encounter them, but they're going to be there too, and we're going to be able to interact with them, and they're going to remember us. There's a strong indication in the scriptures that we will be remembered for what we did, and we'll recognize them for what they did. So it's not like we'll have to read their name tag and go, oh yeah, I think I vaguely remember you. We'll remember them, and they'll know who we are. Number 3, we'll interact with people who we've impacted for Jesus. Think about all the times that you've passed out tracts and saw no results, or all the times you put tracts somewhere, or you shared the gospel with someone and they laughed at you, or the people that you've prayed for and wept for, that they would meet Jesus. And some of those people are going to be in heaven. And I really do believe that as we're up there, that I fully expect that we'll encounter people that say, oh, you're the one that gave me that tract when I was at Fuller Park. And remember, I threw it down, I ripped it up, and I laughed at you. Thank you so much for giving that to me, because God convicted me, and that's what led me to faith in him. Thank you so much for handing that out. I think there's going to be a lot of that we see the fruit of our labor that we don't see right now, but we're going to see that when we get to heaven. And then finally, too, and this is going to be really fun, if we're going to a place where all departed believers go, there's a lot of departed believers throughout all of history and in the Bible that we'll be able to see. That'll be fun. It'll be fun to look around and go, wait, is that William Wilberforce? Is that Paul over there? Whoa, David's over there. Oh, there is one harp in heaven. David's playing it. That's going to be fun, going and hanging out with all the old departed believers, saints, men and women of God from the past. And like I said, I think we'll recognize them if Matthew 17 with the transfiguration, if that's any indication of the reality of literally what's going on in heaven. They knew who Moses and Elijah were, even though they'd never met them. So I would imagine that we'll know who people are, even though we've never met them. And my sixth and final thing that I could find that I can concretely say we'll be doing in heaven if we were to die today and go there is we will rest. And again, like we will see God, you might think, well, that's not something you're doing. That's an absence of doing. You have never fully rested then. There are times like on family vacations where we like to chill. We hike a lot, and so some people look at our vacation, they're like, you guys don't chill. You're going on 9-mile hikes and stuff like that. But I'm not thinking about stuff while I'm hiking. I'm looking at beautiful creation, and I'm just hiking, and that keeps the kids from asking me questions because they're too tired to talk. So we do that. But there are a lot of times where we will just pull up next to a mountain and we just say, all right, let's just stay here. Let's just hang out here for an hour or two, and we just rest. I think there's going to be a lot of rest in heaven. Hebrews chapter 12 says, verse 1, therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Jesus is not working hard in heaven. Jesus is resting in heaven. Jesus ran his race, and now he's seated at the right hand of the Father. And when we get to heaven, that's the same idea, is that the race is over. The war is over. Right now, you fight. Right now, you work hard. Right now, you lay your life down. Right now, you take up your cross. Right now, you deny yourself. But when you get to heaven, the war is over. You can rest. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 6 through 8, Paul says, "For I am already being poured out as a drink offering, and the time of my departure has come. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. And not only to me, but also to all who have loved his appearing." He was longing for the rest that would come. He's like, look, I've been fighting, I've been running, but I fought the good fight, I've run the race, and now I'm just waiting to get that crown at the end. I can't wait to be in the presence of God and to be done with the war. Revelation 14, verse 13, "And I heard a voice from heaven saying, 'Write this, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Blessed indeed, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, for their deeds follow them.'" Now you work, now you struggle, now you run, now you fight, but then you will rest. Then, as I've been doing deliveries, I'll listen to audiobooks a lot, audiobooks, the Bible, and preaching mostly. And I got onto this book series. It's like a young adult Christian fantasy series called Wing Feather. Do any of you know Wing Feather? It's Andrew Peterson. Oh, there you go. I forgot I put a picture there. Andrew Peterson, I think he was Caedmon's Call or something like that, some Christian musician, probably like 10, 15 years ago. He started writing these fantasy novels. And they're interesting. I like them enough to, I'm on the second book now. But the main story is that there's a land called Erwiar, and it's named Erwiar because the legend has it that the first people to come to Erwiar got there and they said, well, there we are. So it's the land of Erwiar, and in Erwiar there's a beautiful land called Aniera. Aniera has been overrun by these evil creatures called the Fangs. The Fangs are like snake-like beings with big fangs, hence the name Fangs. So the Fangs have taken over Aniera, and the last king of Aniera is killed in the process, and then his wife and his children have to flee in exile. They run away to a small town called Glipwood that's across the dark sea of darkness. They sail across the dark sea of darkness to get to a new land, and there's a town called Glipwood where they hide out in Glipwood. And they left when the queen left when the kids were so little that they have no idea that they're actually children of the king of Aniera. But there's these legends of the high king of Aniera and this beautiful the shining land they call it. And so these kids, they're growing up in Glipwood. They take a new name. The family takes a new name, the Igabes. And they have no idea that they're heirs of the king of Aniera. But something happens, and they get in trouble with the Fangs. They have to run away from Glipwood, and now they're being hunted by the Fangs, and the whole family's on the run. And so then the mom decides, well, I should probably tell them that they're children of the king of Aniera, and that's why the Fangs are after them. And so she lets them know that they're heirs to the throne. And the way it works in Aniera, the second eldest son is going to be the new king. The eldest son is what's called the throne warden. He has to basically guard the king, guide the king through life, protect him, keep him from doing stupid stuff, correct him when he needs it, rebuke him when he needs it. It's kind of a cool system. I don't know what they do if they only have one son, though. Sorry, you've got a throne warden, but no throne. So there's the two sons. Janner is the oldest son, and Tink is the younger son. And so Janner will be the throne warden, and Tink will be the king. But at one point, just the gravity of the situation is hitting Tink, and he's like, he doesn't want to be the king. He just wants to go back to his regular life and their regular life, and he doesn't want to carry this pressure at all. And he says, as they're running from the Fangs, they get a quiet night, and Tink tells Janner, I don't think I can do it. I just want to be left alone, like it was in Glipwood before everything happened. I was happy in Glipwood, as long as we stayed clear of the Fangs. I mean, we had the cottage, stories by the fire, hot meals. Now look at us. We're sleeping in a tent. Nugget was their dog that drank some magical water and became like a horse-sized dog. Duh. Nugget is dead. Pete, their crazy uncle. Pete, who knows what's happened to him? My back hurts because they got these backpacks on. I don't like carrying this pack around all day. I just don't want to be a king. Then Janner turns to him and says, you know what I want? I want a long string of days like yesterday, when we walked through the forest listening to poems about Uncle Pete, laughing together, no swords or bows or fangs. I want to rest. But I'm afraid we won't be able to for a long, long time. Not until we make it to Aniera. Not until we make it home. If we have to fight to make it there, I'm willing to do it. And if I have to pull you by the collar, you're coming with me. Today we fight. Now we strive. Now it's a struggle. Now you pick up your cross and you deny yourself and you follow Jesus. But that fight will be over. When we get to heaven, we get to rest. Jesus, thank you for the joy that awaits us in heaven. And Lord, though it's a fight now, though we carry heavy packs now, though we're hunted by fangs now, though life is hard now, Jesus is just for a mere few years. Thank you for the day that it will be over, that we can stand before you. We hear those words, well done, good and faithful servant, and we can enter into the joy of our Master, that we can rest before you, that we can see you face to face, that we can worship you, that we can be surrounded by all the great men and women of God from the past that have made it. No sin, no temptation, no distractions, no barriers between us and you, Jesus. Thank you for that day that awaits us. And Father, I pray for your grace, to be honest, to keep going, to keep fighting. Lord, now is not the time to rest. Now is the time to work. Now is the time to pick up the burden and carry it and to work hard for your kingdom. Father, I pray for strength and grace, to be honest, to do the work that you've called us to do, and to fight now and to run the race now, because we know, Lord, that it will be over. And once it's over, we can't pick up the burden again. Once it's over, we can't fight again. Once it's over, we can't run the race again. This is the time. So give us grace and strength to fight hard with everything we've got now, knowing that the rest is coming. In Jesus' name, amen.